Hello and good morning. This is the Breville Barista Express that I'm selling, a model BES870BSS. As you saw in the photos, this unit is in good condition. It is a refurbished unit, so it's been used for a couple of years and traded in to me. This one was actually traded in for the Breville Oracle, I believe, which is the fully automatic version. The unit is in absolutely fully working condition. I did do a basic service on it, so I changed the seals, the silicone seals on the pipes and the boiler. I tightened some of the connectors. I tested everything at full pressure and it works like new. It has zero issues. So on the inside it's perfect, on the outside a few scratches around the front, but honestly nothing major. And yeah, in this video I'll be testing everything for you, just to give you peace of mind and also teach you how to make coffee in case this was your first coffee machine. When you turn on the machine, it usually takes about 45 seconds to a minute to reach temperature. That is for the boiler to reach temperature. But then you may notice that the handle is not hot after that 1 minute, and your cup obviously is at room temperature. If you want to warm those up, you can either wait 10 minutes, so keep the machine on, maybe leave your cup up here, it'll get a little bit warm. In 10 minutes time this handle will be nice and warm. This is where you put the coffee. You can do that, or if you're in a hurry like myself, you can run a blank shot. So a blank shot means you put your cup underneath, no coffee in the handle, press the single or the double button, run hot water through the system, and this will warm everything up nicely. This will also do a bit of cleaning, so if there's any loose coffee stuck in the valves or in the group head or in the handle, this will clean those up pretty nicely. That's the double button. Let's try the single button. Awesome. Once you do that, you want to dry the portafilter next. So take this away, put it up here maybe, drain the water, grab a tissue or a towel and dry the portafilter as well. This is the double basket, so your machine comes with, as you saw in the photos, 4 baskets and some cleaning tools, but no milk jug. The one I have here is the double basket. It takes 18 grams of ground coffee. I've got a scale here to measure that. Yeah, so I'll be aiming for 18 grams in that basket, and in terms of the output in my cup, I'll be aiming for about 35 to 40, technically 36, but no one is a scientist here. I'm not going to get everything perfect, of course, but we'll try our best. Espresso is basically usually a 2-to-1 ratio in 30 seconds. So that means in our 18 gram ground coffee dose, we should be getting, from that we should be getting 36 grams of liquid coffee in 36-second shot time. These are the variables that I'll try to keep consistent. So I'll try to keep the dose in the same, the dose out the same, and the time will aim for the 30-second time. How do we control the time? So what if it runs too quick or too slow? It's the grind size. So the grind size will dictate how fast or how slow the pour is. If our grind size is very large, too large for our coffee beans, we will be getting the shot in a very quick amount of time. So instead of 30 seconds, we might get the shot in 15 seconds. That will make the shot taste a bit weak, a bit sour, and the crema will be low as well. You'll also see the pressure low as well on the gauge here. On the other hand, if the grind size is too small or too fine for our coffee, the coffee will be very slow. It'll take significantly longer than the 30-second mark. So for example, it may take more than 45 seconds, and that is too long. That will make our shot taste bitter, too thick, and you'll see the pressure skyrocket here on the gauge. Very high. Anyway, I will be starting from the basic settings that I usually use. Using the double button, calibrated. I'll be using the, you know what? I'll explain what I'm doing. So, with grind sizes, if the coffee comes out basically like flour, then that's usually too fine, from my experience. So before even making a coffee, that I know this is a decent grind size. If it comes out very thick, very coarse, like gravel or like sand or dirt, then that's too coarse. So I'm starting at 3 because I think based on what I can see, it's a decent grind size. And I usually also just start at the 12 o'clock mark here on the grind amount. So the grind size will dictate how far the burrs or the blades are, and will dictate how fine or coarse the grind size is. But the grind amount is how long the grinder will spin for. So I basically always start from 12 o'clock position and see how much that gives me. On the button, I try to stay with the double button, but from experience, the factory setting, and this machine is reset to factory settings, the factory settings are generally too long for my liking and for espresso recipes. So I'm going to recalibrate this button for you to give you 40 grams of coffee. So that's a lot of talking. Let me stop talking and make coffee. I will basically reset my scale to 0. I'll put it on the single filter size, not the double. Because if you do the double and you grind the double dose all at once, you may get a bit of spillage. I'm not going to do that. I'll do the single, and I will measure halfway and see what we get. So let's do that. That's our first dose. Let's measure. 7.7 grams. Less than what we wanted, but we can increase that. So we'll go 2 o'clock position. We'll do a bit more. That's 9 grams. So, like I said, 18 grams is the aim. If you do that twice, it's not 18. If you do 9 grams twice, it's 18. Hopefully, the 2 o'clock position will be closer to 9 grams. So let's test that. Awesome. Slowly take it out and measure. 17.7. Pretty good. I'm happy with that. So if you leave it on the 2 o'clock position, it should give you about 8.5 to 9 grams. So I'll leave it there. Before you press the coffee with the tamper again. So as you saw, when I did my first dose, I pressed it down, and that's to make a bit of space for the second dose, so that we don't spill the coffee. I forgot to say that. But anyway, once you have the second dose in, and you're happy with the amount, spread it around and look at the level. So before I pressed the coffee, it's level with the basket, it's flush, basically. Excuse me. So that tells me that we got close to the perfect amount of coffee here. Another tip that I like to give people is get your tamper, press it down, and look at the silver part on the tamper once you've pressed the coffee down. So I'm going to round the coffee up and then press down really firm, as much as I can. You can do this on the counter space to make this easier, but I'm going to do it mid-air for the sake of the video. And if you see, it's nicely polished. The depth of the coffee, so the depth from the edge to the coffee, is basically the same as the silver part on the tamper. So Breville has designed this tamper with the depth of coffee in mind. And yeah, if you don't have a scale, again, you don't have to use a scale. You can just go by sort of eyeballing things. That's what I do most of the time if I'm not making these videos. Yeah, so clean the edge, put the tamper back, and lock it in. Now, we've tested the grinder, that's all good. Next you've got the dial here. This controls the steamer and the hot water tap. So if you push the dial away, you get hot water from this tap. This will give you clean hot water straight from the boiler, bypassing the group head So that means you won't get coffee grounds in your hot water. I like to use it to either make long black coffees. So if you add hot water to an espresso shot, you'll get an Americano. But also I like to use it to add a little bit of hot water to my cup before I add any sugar. So I'm adding sugar now, and this hot water helps the sugar dissolve, and it will help it mix with the espresso. If you like to add syrups or sweetener, you can add them now as well, before you brew the shot, so that when the shot comes down, it mixes very nicely with all the flavors. Cool. That is reset to 0 again. Remember, we're going to be aiming for about 35 to 40 grams in 30 seconds. I'll show you how to reset the buttons if you ever want to change the length. You do this when you want to change the single or the double button. I'm going to do the double button. So you do program, you press the program button, and then you press the button that you want to program. So for example, it's the double button that we want to program. I'll press it now. The machine will make coffee, and then when I press the button again, it will stop and it will memorize that amount. And next time you make coffee, it'll give you that same amount. Let's do that. 3, 2, 1. I'm also going to time the shot here on my clock. Hopefully we get the settings right from the get-go, but we'll see. Okay, it looks like we probably won't. The grind size looks a little bit too fine. As we can see, it took us 13, 14 seconds for the coffee to start pouring. We're at the 25-second mark now and we barely have any coffee. So I might stop the coffee soon. Because this, if I drink this coffee, it will be quite strong. Not many people will like that. It's at the 40-second mark now. Yeah, that's 31 grams. So this is grind size 3, and it gave us 31 grams in 40 seconds. So not what we wanted. What we can do next is we can do another shot. I think I've got time to do another shot, that's fine. We'll do... I'll extract a little bit more. Not advised, but the more you extract coffee, the more caffeine you'll be getting. So I'm just adding a little bit more. There we go. 38 grams. I'll do another shot. Probably give it to someone here in the house. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video, and then once I've got everything set up, I'll let you know. Alrighty, here's what I've done. I've increased the grind size from 3 to 5. I've reduced the amount from 2 o'clock to 1 o'clock position. I've done that double dosing, and I got 17.5 grams. So this is what it looks like. Lock it in. Do the same thing as before. Reset my scale. Make sure it's on 0. And we'll do the same thing. So we're gonna reset the button again, just because before it probably gave us too little coffee. We'll do it again now, so it gives us the correct amount of coffee in the correct amount of time, hopefully. The gauge can be an indicator, so if it's anything between 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock position, then it's pretty good. Oh, that's much better. As you can see, coffee started pouring out around the 10-second mark. Still have about 1 o'clock pressure, which is pretty good. On these machines, anything between 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock I'm happy with. This is about 10 or 11 bars. It's pouring nicely, evenly out of both spouts. It's almost at 40 grams, and I'll stop it there. Perfect, that took us 32 seconds. And the amount is 44 grams. That's pretty good. I'm going to leave it there. I'm pretty happy with the output. So if we compare, before we had, in 40 seconds we had 30 grams, now we have about 44 in 30 seconds. So that makes sense. We increase the grind size, the water flows quicker. if we're going to nitpick, maybe we could have stopped it at the 28-second mark. So we have, you know, closer to 36, 38 grams versus 44. That's totally fine. I mean, with coffee, it doesn't have to be perfect to the numbers. As long as it tastes good to you, and as long as it's close enough to the recipe, a lot of the time it's very fine, it's okay. Especially if you add sugar, especially if you add milk as well, which we are in this drink. But if you want to be, you know, very accurate about it, then I think, yeah, we could have stopped it a bit sooner, so we don't have too much coffee in the cup. But that's fine. Next time you make coffee, you'll be getting that 44 gram shot, which I think is fine. It's better to be a bit over than a bit under, in my experience. A bit over will give you more caffeine. It'll also give you more flavors. A bit under will be more thicker, more bitter. That's just my opinion. So for this one, I'm going to be adding hazelnut syrup. So we'll do a bit of that. Awesome. Right, that's my espresso shot. Next, we'll be adding some milk. We'll be making this into a latte. Let's turn on the steamer. But actually, before that, I'm just going to do a bit of cleaning. Super easy, just like that. Give it a flush when you're done. I like to give it a flush to clean both the shower screen and the port filter handle as well, or the basket, I mean. There we go. Stopped on its own. With a steamer, you want to get a metal jug. Metal will conduct heat, and you can feel the temperature through that. Also get one that's the correct size. If it's too big, you won't be able to reach the milk if it's very long or very tall. And if it's too small, it might annoy you, because if it's too small, it'll spill milk as it's steaming. So get the correct size. This is my personal one. It's got a thermometer, but I won't be using that. I'll be going by feel. So to start steaming, just turn the dial towards you. It'll take about 15 seconds for it to start outputting steam, typically, because it's a single boiler machine. It has to heat up the boiler to that 130-degree temperature. The technique is pretty simple. Keep the wand at an angle. Keep the tip of the wand close to the surface of the milk, for the first few seconds. So the milk, once you start seeing steam, wait a few more seconds. It'll get even stronger as the boiler gets hotter and hotter. Position the jug at an angle like this to keep the milk spinning, and keep the tip close to the surface of the milk as well. You will notice the change in sound when I put the tip close to the surface versus deep into the milk. When it's deep in the milk, it's not going to give the milk any air, it's not going to give the milk any foam, and it will be flat at the end. So if I keep it down here, so I'm raising the jug, keeping the tip deep into the milk, I'm not giving it any air, I'm simply heating it up and spinning it. But if I lower my jug, and that means if I bring the tip close to the surface, the tip of the wand, you'll hear a change in the sound. So you want to do this sound for about 10 seconds. And then you can raise the jug again to stop injecting air into the milk. If you inject too much air, your texture will be very, very fluffy, very thick, which some people don't like for a latte. But if you like that, then do that, I guess. When the jug gets too hot to the touch, so when you can't touch it for too long, for more than a second, and that's usually about 60 to 65 degrees. On my jug here it says 65. Forgot to say, you want to purge, to turn it on, just to purge, and clean the wand from any milk that's stuck inside. And then grab a wet towel and give it a good wipe on the outside. The sooner you clean it, the better, because the milk will get really hot. It'll basically bake on top of that metal, and it'll be a pain to remove the next day. So just clean it today. That's my best tip. Give it a wipe. Try to keep your machine nice and clean, nice and dry. And that's about it. So you can now make another coffee, or just turn it on. We've got very thick milk. I think I would call this a cappuccino more than a latte. So we didn't get too much latte art. Well, no latte art really. But I would say it looks delicious. Very decent amount of foam. If we look, that's about 2 centimeters of milk foam. So yeah, I would call that a cappuccino. Yeah, that looks really good. I'm sure you can make better coffees. If you do some practice, really, you can do latte art easily on this machine, just like any cafe barista would be able to. And yeah, I'm sure you can make delicious drinks very soon. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask them. And I will see you soon. Cheers.